So please maintain silence throughout the guided meditation. You may close your eyes and begin noticing the posture of your body, taking a deep breath in and releasing. Another deep breath in and release. Now relax the body, starting from the top of your head, slowly going down, relaxing your forehead, the muscles, your eyes, and your face, your ears, your neck, and the parts above your neck. And below the neck, you go down to your shoulders, relax your arms, also your palms and fingers. These are relaxed. And your spine, making a straight line between your neck and the spine. You are not too tight or too loose in the upper part of your body. With every breath you take, you relax. Your chest relaxed. Your abdomen also relaxed. And the muscles pressed against the ground or the chair are relaxed. So the knees, the muscles surrounding the thighs, these are relaxed. You let go of any tension or any tightness, leaving everything to the nature. Do not make pain as the center of your attention. Leave them aside. Let go. Now between your knees and ankles, you relax, moving if you have to, and also the soles of your feet, and relax the toes. Now releasing any tension or any tightness into the space. Now you absorb and invite positive energy back into the center of your body. To your heart base. Now again take a deep breath in and release. Another one. Release. So you intentionally inhale and exhale, taking your time to relax this big body with each breath you take. Questions and thoughts and concern, leave them aside and focus on what is happening now. Your breathing is happening now, not in the past, not in the future. This one activity, which is very important, that is happening constantly. So you give your full attention to it. Inhale peace, exhale letting go, peace, let go. Let go of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and physical sensations, also thinking. So you are fully absorbed into breathing in and breathing out. Completely aware of each and every step of your breathing in and breathing out. This is like hijacking the nature. You don't stop things though. You observe as you breathe in deliberately and intentionally and breathe out with a little bit more attention than what you normally give. Mindfully, you breathe in. Mindfully, you breathe out. Little by little, your body is learning to relax. You stay with the sensation of your breathing in, breathing out. You stay with the movement of it. As you feel quiet inside, begin noticing your breath carefully. When you are taking a long breath, you know you are taking a long breath. When you exhale a long breath, you know that. When it is a short breath, you know that. Inhaling or exhaling, in both ways, you take notice of this course of activity. Having observed long or short breaths as they happen, you may notice some little slowing down, but also rhythmically you notice the body's movement as you breathe in and breathe out. So sensitive to your body, please breathe in and breathe out. When you are sensitive to your body, you may also notice some tranquility that is bound with your body. Now that everything is getting quieter and quieter, and tranquility take foothold. So you allow tranquility to make space. So tranquilizing the body, you continue to breathe in and breathe out. So this tranquility is experienced by your mind as you breathe in and breathe out. Your mind becomes the focus of your attention. The mind is luminous, peaceful, and calm. It may be experienced as a light, but all you do is still keeping a connection with your inhaling and exhaling. There arises a little joy that is born of your seclusion from other activities, internal and external. Slight movement of inhaling and exhaling, but you are still aware. You feel like some joy and happiness arising from everywhere. So you are seated in that joy and happiness, leading onwards towards equanimity. Now you may be able to take notice of mind's activities such as things arising and passing away, or your attention to certain things, but unaffected by these. Now let your experience fade away as you focus on the Buddha's words on loving kindness.
This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties, and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove, wishing in gladness and in safety. May all beings be at ease, whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born. May all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another, or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another. Even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, free from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness. One should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding, by not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into this world.
Excellent. So today we are going to discuss this sutra from numbered discourses called Vipaka Sutta, and the meaning of it is results of what we do. And this doesn't have a direct link with the subject we are going to talk about after, but we can say that it doesn't, because the first thing that it talks about is taking of life. So we will see, and the reason that this came up is because upon hearing the passing away of Venerable Samahita, he is Bhikkhu Samahita. He is from Denmark. He was a medical doctor and associate professor before ordaining as a monk, and he lived in remote hermitage in Sri Lanka for many years. So he was a Aranyavasi monk, a forest monk. So that's his face. And unfortunately, he moved back to Denmark in 2018 when his father was ill, and he passed away in October in Denmark. And the way he passed away is tragic, that he took his own life. And because he is well known among some people, he has been a spiritual. I have never met him, but somehow he had my excuse me, my email address, so he was sending emails. So I was receiving and reading them, and I thought he's such a nice spiritual friend. And this made me think more about why monks commit suicide, why anybody would commit suicide. So I went into a discussion and then found people giving this sutra, the Vipaka Sutta, sutra from Anguttara Nikaya. So let's read it. Monks, the taking of life, when indulged in, developed, and pursued, is something that leads to hell, leads to rebirth as a common animal, leads to the realm of the hungry shades. The slightest of all the results coming from the taking of life is that when one becomes a human being, it leads to a short lifespan. So we don't have the ability to make this conclusion from what we know. By taking life, your life becomes shorter. And we have a set of teachings like that with each aspect that we are going to uncover from this sutra. Same with stealing. When you do that, what happens is I don't know what common animal really means, but an animal, and leads to so you may be born in the hungry shades. So what you do is stealing, and you indulge in it, you develop it, and you pursue it. So with taking life, this could be taking somebody else's life. It doesn't necessarily have to be your own life. The slightest of all the results coming from stealing is that when one becomes a human being, it leads to the loss of your wealth, because you have committed to stealing in a previous life. And illicit sexual behavior, when you indulge in that, what happens is whatever we discussed previously, and when you are a human being, it leads to rivalry and revenge. So people take revenge from you and attack you. And telling falsehoods, when you do that, what happens is it leads to being falsely accused, other than what was mentioned before. So divisive tale-bearing leads to breaking of one's friendships. Losing friendship has something to do with this. I think ordinarily when you do divide, let me see, there is a comment popping up. Oh, Mark leaving early. That's right. So divisive tale-bearing, when you indulge in that, you lose friendship. This is happening before you even go to next birth. It happens within this lifetime. Harsh speech leads to unappealing sounds. You hear them that you don't like them, but you happen to live with those. Frivolous chattering leads to words that aren't worth taking to heart. And then the drinking of fermented and distilled liquors, when indulged in, developed, pursued, is something that leads to hell, leads to rebirth as a common animal, leads to the realm of the hungry shades. The slightest of all the results coming from drinking fermented and distilled liquors is that when one becomes a human being, it leads to mental derangement. you go crazy. You lose your track of mind. So basic idea here is that when you break five precepts and you indulge in whatever that you are breaking and you develop it and you pursue it further, it's the inclination of your mind and it leads to painful results. So we will close that. And what is left is this part here and two sutras. So let's read this part because we understand it a little bit better. This is this author named Kyosho Hayashima from, sounds like Japanese. This author writes about Asubhanupassana in Buddhist meditation, practicing repulsiveness in Buddhist meditation. So towards the end of this article, on page 30, this writer says, here we notice why the Buddha had to set the third parajika. So this is one of the major rules that monks are supposed to keep, that you are not supposed to take life, meaning you are not supposed to kill any being. So manusavigha, basically don't kill a human being. So once the Buddha was staying at Vesali, this is a town at that time, in the pavilion of the Gabbled Hall, which is a Kotagara Shala, and he preached about Asubha, repulsiveness of the body, in many ways to the monks. He praised the impure, praised the developing of Asubha, and repeatedly instructed the state of mental absorption in repulsiveness. After the discourse, these monks dwelt intent upon the comprehension of worthless thing as to each one's state, and the practicing of the repulsiveness. Since they were troubled by their own bodies, ashamed of them, and loathing them, they deprived themselves of their lives, deprived one another of life, or were killed by Migalandika, a sham recluse, not a real recluse. After the incident, the Buddha created the rule towards them. So he said, do not take life, that's the rule. And by doing that, you lose your status as a monk. You no longer can consider yourself as a monk when you do that. So that's that. Read more later. And here, this is Damien Keown. He's the author of Buddhism and Bioethics, the famous book. I've seen him once in Thailand in a conference. So he discusses Buddhism, the idea of Buddhism and suicide. And he has a particular case he's taking into example, the case of Channa. So here, let me find out. The story of Channa occurs in two places in the canon, once in middle discourses and once in connected discourses. The advices to Channa is how Sariputta and Mahachunda and Channa, these are names of monks. Channa is the subject here. So they were residing in Vulture Peak mountain. Channa was afflicted, suffering, and gravely ill. So Venerable Sariputta, he rose from his evening meditation and suggested another monk named Mahachunda that they visit ailing Channa who is ill. So they do that. Inquiring about Channa's health, they are told that his condition is deteriorating rather than improving. The nature of the illness itself is not diagnosed, but the symptoms are described in stock terms, which means terms that you find in other places also, identical to those of the layman Anathapindika in the preceding sutta. So Anathapindika is the main devotee, the sponsor of the Buddha. They both, in this case and Anathapindika's case, complain of intense pain in the head and stomach and throughout the body generally. The head pain is said to be like having one's head split open with a sharp sword, or having a leather strap progressively tightened around the head like a headband. The stomach pain is compared to having one's belly carved up by a sharp knife, in the way a butcher might carve up an ox's belly. The body pain is likened to that of being roasted over a pit of hot coals. The head and stomach pains are attributed to the action of violent winds, but no specific cause is mentioned for the more diffuse but no less intense bodily pain. After describing his condition, Channa says, "I shall use the knife, friend Sariputta. I have no desire to live." On hearing this, immediate response of Sariputta is to discourage Channa from taking his life. So in response, Sariputta says, "Let the Venerable Channa not use the knife. Let the Venerable Channa live. We want you to live." So, if you lack suitable food, I will go in search of suitable food for him. If he lacks suitable medicine, I will go in search of suitable medicine. If you lack proper attendant, I will attend to you. Let you live. So, and then Channa says he lacks neither food, medicine, or care. He remarks, somewhat obliquely, that he has long served the teacher with love, as is proper for a disciple, before repeating his intention to use the knife, which means he's perhaps cutting his throat and killing himself. So, and then after this subject changes and the first Sariputta and then Mahachunda speak to Channa on matters of doctrine, both elders then get up and leave, and soon after Channa uses the knife. Sariputta then approaches the Buddha, clearly believing that Channa was not an Arahant, asks for information about Channa's post-mortem destination, Gati, and future course, Abhisamparaya. The Buddha's response betrays a degree of impatience and implies that Sariputta should already know the answer. And then the Buddha says, "But surely, Sariputta," the Buddha says, "the monk Channa told you in person of his anupavajjata." What does anupavajjata means here? Since Sariputta's question was about rebirth, the context supports the commentarial interpretation of anupavajja as meaning not being reborn very well and makes the Buddha's reply perfectly intelligible. So, something like, "Wake up, Sariputta, you are asking me about the rebirth of someone who told you himself he was not going to be reborn again." So this is the case where the Buddha kind of approving that he was an enlightened monk. He's no more, he doesn't have any rebirth. Not because he committed suicide, but because he didn't have an intention to live. This is shown from another example called Godhika Sutta, and also this example called Vakkali. In the case of Vakkali, he was also very ill, and the Buddha visits him, and he says he feels like taking life, and the Buddha discourages him, and Vakali talks about death, and the Buddha asks, "Do you have any remorse?" And Vakali says, I don't regret anything except one thing." And the Buddha asks, "What is that one thing?" And here Vakali says, "I couldn't see you in person. I was so ill, I couldn't come to see you. I was wanting to see you physically." And then the Buddha's response is that, "What is the use of seeing this body? This body is not how you should see me. When you see what I teach, and if you see the teachings, you see me." And little later, afflicted by his illness, Vakali takes his life, and also towards the end, this happens. Monks reported to the Buddha, delivered the message, and then, "Come, monks, let us go to the black rock on the Isigili slope. This is where the thing happened, where the clansman Vakali has used the knife." "Yes, venerable sir," those monks replied. Then the Buddha, together with the number of monks, went to the black rock on Isigili slope, and the Blessed One saw in the distance the venerable Vakali lying on the bed with his shoulder turned. On that occasion, a cloud of smoke, a swirl of darkness, was moving to the east, then to the west, to the north, to the south, upwards, downwards, and to the intermediate quarters. The Blessed One then addressed the monks and said, "Do you see, monks, that cloud of smoke?" And they say, "Yes." And then, "Monks," the Buddha says, "Monks, this is the evil one," which means death, searching for the consciousness of Vakali, wondering where now he has the consciousness of this Vakali been established. However, monks, with consciousness unestablished, Vakali has attained final Nibbana. And this same ending is found here in Godhika discourse. So this may be very confusing to some of you here, that these monks, although they commit suicide, they had given up on the idea of living. So this sparks another discussion on sort of like euthanasia and giving pain medications and putting patients on CMO, which is comfort measures only, so people have all kinds of ways of ending life, which is sometimes ruled by your own intention, or sometimes it is administered by medical staff. In all these situations, my conclusion is that Vakali, Channa, or Godhika, or other monks, we really don't know the mind of an enlightened being. Of course, when you are enlightened, which also means that all desires have been abolished in you, you no longer have any desire to hold on to this life, because there is no purpose that you see of living. But not that all the enlightened monks have considered committing suicide. And according to that rule laid by the Buddha to monks, taking one's own life is an offense that loses your status as a monk. But if you observe Vakali's and Godika's case, maybe these rules were not existent when these incidents took place. We don't know. So let's leave it for some scholars. But nowadays, if Buddhist meditation or enlightenment lead to this kind of results, nobody should be doing that. So nobody should misunderstand that Buddhist meditation has these kind of results. And when a monk takes his life, we really don't know what's going on. in that monk's life. When you look at a monk, I want you to understand this part. This is very important about any monk. When you look at a monk, your mind goes, no, that is a monk, so he's supposed to be this way. That's not true. Keep in mind that this is just a contextually conditioned interpretation of an objective image. You see an image of a monk, so this monk is just a perception in your mind, and you see that this monk is supposed to be this way and that way. But definitely not the subjective entirety of the individual, because that very individual that you see is only the physical body. Internally, we never know what's going on in there. In other words, your mental image of a certain someone might have nothing to do with what that person is actually experiencing within himself. So in the case of Venerable Samahita, had his reasons for life he chose to lead, and he was good with people, but deep inside he may have had lived somewhere else. We never know. So this is a quote I took from what I just read is not my own words. I took it from the discussion about Venerable Samahita. It's someone's private life, so we don't have any right to make any judgment. And suicide or any thought, as we have previously discussed, please do not indulge in such thoughts. Whether or not you have become enlightened, this precious life should be lived to the fullest and be a resource of spiritual companionship to everyone around you. That way you become a blessing to the world. Any questions? So no questions. Thank you for joining, and we will meet. So I'm not sure about next Wednesday. If seems like we got plans. Thank you, Heidi, for the comment. She's saying such an important topic. I thought it's very important to discuss this. Thank you for mentioning that. And yes, there is an update about Bhante Sankicha. Looks like he decided not to come because his mom's condition is not well. It's getting worsened. So he's concerned. He says he only has one mom. So let us pray all together in your prayer intentions that she gets better and Bhante is able to come back. So for the next 3 months, apparently Bhante Sankicha may not be back. So because the rains retreat begins of this temple starting from next week. Thank you, Chandratilakanona. She says it is an eye-opening discussion, interesting. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So thank you for the kind words. And so starting from August 2nd, monks, 4 of us, Bhante Janananda, myself, Bhante Dhammaratana and Bhante Sarananda, are taking the 3 months rains retreat and ending it in November. Around that time, Bhante Sankicha will be back. So that's that. More updates will follow. Next Wednesday, if I'm doing the session, I want to be regular on that. I will let you know. It seems like Bhante, one of the Bhantes need help about something. If that changes, I will hold the group. Happy meditation and take care.
Thank you,
Thank
Bhante.
you.
Thank you.